Move that we accept the minutes of the last meeting as submitted.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Additions to the agenda, I have one which is invasive plants at the town gravel bank.
Invasive plants,
Invasive.
invasive plants at the town gravel bank.
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda. Are there any other additions?
For once, I don't have any.
Oh, good. And here he comes. Hey, Richard. We haven't done anything too serious yet. We've just added invasive plants spraying at the gravel bank. So, that's it. So, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next communication, I had a couple. One is the work at the West Cornwall Firehouse is going along very well. And the department is going to host an open house on Sunday, October 20th from 12 to 4 to show off the new renovations, which are on track to be completed by then or mostly complete. And also they're going to have some demonstrations and events for kids and people of all ages. So that will be a chance to see the new firehouse and see some of the equipment that's there. And if anybody has questions about joining the department or what the department does, it's a good opportunity. Social event, there'll be food and events for kids and things. So anyway, that's
Sunday the 20th.
Sunday the 20th, 12 to 4. So that's one communication. Second one was that I did get a visit from Steve Silver from Eversource, and they have put in plantings around the substation up on the intersection of Route 4 and 43, 128, so they look nice, and we look forward to them being in bloom next year, and thank them again for doing that work. The last communication I had was from our friends in Hawaii. There is going to be several Hawaiian events. There's a commemoration of the 200th anniversary of the Hawaiian students going back to Hawaii from Cornwall from the Foreign Mission School, as well as the first missionaries leaving from New England to go to Hawaii. And there'll be a full list of events that will be happening here on October 6th at the UCC Church here in Cornwall Village on Bolton Hill Road at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, October 6th. There is going to be a performance of the life of Henry Obakai'ia by Hawaiian actor Moses Good, and he's going and putting on several dozen performances throughout New England in the month of October as part of the celebration of that time. And on October 21st in the afternoon, a busload of Hawaiians who are coming here as part of the celebration, and they're also traveling to New Haven, Boston, Hartford, Williamstown, a lot of places. So they're going to be here briefly on the afternoon of October 21st to see the area where the Hawaiians went to school. So that will be an excitement in a couple exciting events in October. And on the 21st, the former state archaeologist Nick Bolantani, who helped supervise the exhumation of the remains of Henry Obakai'ia, and they're sending back to Hawaii, will give a brief talk about that process to the Hawaiians that will be here. So anyway, there will be quite a few things going on Hawaiian in town in October. Any other communications? Public comments? How's public? Next is annual town meeting is scheduled for the last Friday of October, which is October 21st, October 25th, at 7:30 at CCS for the following purposes. I'll receive reports, and the main thing is to review the financial reports from the auditor of how the year's budget went, and also review the town report, which has quite a few reports of all the boards and commissions in it. So, and then also to adopt the 5-year capital plan for the town. So that will be happening on October 25th. And so we need to sign the call, which we can do now. So we can get that established and into the media.
Glad to see item number 2.
Number 2, yes. Okay, so anything else on the town meeting? Pretty simple agenda for now. So we'll look forward to that in October.
We're not planning on adding anything to that.
No, I mean, there's a couple other things, even things that we will be talking about tonight, but other than the 5-year plan, that's what we have ready to go. The other things need some work. So, yeah, these are the only 2 items that we have that are ready to go to a meeting at this point. Okay, so the next thing that will be going to the meeting is the 5-year capital plan. And again, this is a draft we have. Did you get a copy of this? This is where we're at the current time. I did talk to Jim, the highway foreman, and we did update some things as far as filling in the blank for the for the next highway truck in the last years, 23 and 24, there's money for a highway truck, so he knows what trucks need to be replaced, and we can remove that question mark as far as the fire department truck fund. I'm not quite sure which truck will be needed to be replaced at that time, but they do wear out, so it's wise to set money aside for that. So, and we did increase quite substantially the number for town building repairs.
There's also the road improvement. Is that going up? Has that always been?
Let's see,
There's 300 on all of those. But
yeah, we went up to 300.
Maybe 270 or something.
It was 250 for a while, and then we went up to 300 a couple years ago. And again, this is just a plan, it's not an appropriation, but it helps to anticipate things. And again, we have a little money left over for our bridges because we got a nice price on fixing the projects that we're doing this fall. So that takes some of the pressure off the capital.
We'll anticipate having a little bit left in there.
Yeah, but eventually we will. spend it.
Yeah. Yes.
So any other thoughts on this? And again, something that we have talked about is the West Cornwall wastewater management project, and that's not in here because it's a separate item. These are sort of more or less recurring things, and that's going to be a substantial
Sort of
standalone bonded project that will not appear in the budget.
For a review for a second, the highway truck replacements
Yes.
cost 300?
Not 200,000 for a new
200,000,
plow
so
truck.
it requires 2 years worth of.
100.
So-
Right.
So truck 6 will be able to be replaced
Right.
next year.
Right. And the good news is that we have now replaced the mowing tractor, the grader,
The loader.
the loader, the backhoe, the pickup, and the small four-wheel drive dump truck, within the last 5 years. And so we can concentrate mostly on the big trucks now. So that seems
And
like
one of
we
the,
have,
one of the newest big trucks is only 3 or 4 years old,
yeah, probably, yeah,
right?
right. Mhm.
3 maybe?
Yeah,
So this is enough to do truck 6, and then the next 2 years, truck 9, and then truck 10, and
right.
we're done with highway trucks. Well, I think.
There's one more. There's 4 big trucks. So this will be 2. We've done 1. There's still 1 to come.
Well, 6,
All right, 6,
9,
9, and 10. Yeah, okay, we'll be on.
Do we
The last
usually
one.
buy those trucks new?
Yes, because they're so
And they cost
200.
200,000
Yeah.
roughly?
Yeah,
Okay,
and we get 15 years.
yeah.
okay, thank you.
So, yeah, just with all our hills, you have to have something that's fairly specialized, and when they work hard. So,
I'm not
yes.
questioning that.
Yep. Okay, so is there a motion to approve this as presented?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we bring this capital, to approve the capital project funds and move it forward to the Board of Finance.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So then the next thing is plan of conservation development. This is the plan that's being coordinated by the Planning and Zoning Commission, as they are required to every 10 years under state statute. As we highlighted at our last meeting, this board has a large role to play in giving approval, disapproval, comments about the plan that has been drafted so far, which I see a copy of there. I did attend a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission last week where they talked about several things, including how this procedure works, and as we've been notified, then they hold a meeting, a public hearing, 65 days after it goes to this board and the Council of Governments, and they receive our input ahead of that meeting. So they're also having a general discussion with other boards and commissions. In that document, you can see there's tasks ahead and there's assignments of tasks to various boards and commissions. And they want to have a meeting of all those commissions and boards before they say, and those boards have to agree to do the work that is said that, proposed that they do. And so I read through it. I have quite a few comments. I haven't got all the comments organized, but if they're going to meet on October 8th, it'd be nice if we got our comments to them ahead of that. So what I'm proposing is that we have a special meeting, just because it's a pretty complicated document, and we could talk about this for hours or minutes or whatever, but
Yeah.
as this happens once every 10 years, and it's a pretty tight time frame we're under, and as we have 13 things on our agenda tonight, I don't want to rush our discussion because we are a large part of the public input of the plan. So what I'm proposing is we have a special meeting next Tuesday night that Joyce doesn't have to come to, and we just talk about comments on this. I might draft up some comments that I have going through there. I think it's a good plan. I think there's some innovative ideas in there. And I want to do some more research before that. But again, try to get our comments out to them ahead of October 8th is tight if our next meeting is the first week in October and stuff and things. So I'd rather take a shot at it in a special meeting.
And try and
If that's okay.
finalize
Yeah,
our
we could
thoughts.
finalize. I'm not sure what's the date of our next.
The first.
The first. So our next meeting, our next regular meeting is a week ahead of that. So if we could have something finalized, then that would be helpful to get ahead of that. So does that night work
Works
for
for
you
me.
folks?
The 24th.
24th? Yeah? Another fun night? At least it's
Yeah.
not light outside.
Yeah.
So, is there
Meeting at 7:30 or at 7?
7:30, I think.
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah, I can't do 7.
So we'll meet,
Here?
yeah, so I'll make a motion. We have a special meeting to discuss drafting comments to the Plan and Zoning Commission here, 7:30 on the 24th, a week from tonight.
It's on the 24th.
Right.
Okay,
Is there a second to that?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, let's see. Railroad spraying, it's
Can I just back up and ask a
Yeah.
question? So the 65-day time frame,
started at our last meeting.
September 3rd approximately.
Right,
So it has to be there, it'll be right around election day then?
yeah,
Is that give or take?
pretty much. I mean, they're having, not less than, not more than, I don't know. Anyway, they're gonna have a public hearing early November, but it will be interesting. I think it's in between the election and the time that because there's gonna be a couple new members on the Plan and Zoning Commission.
And they don't take office for, there's a time frame.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. So anyway, they're trying to get this wrapped up, before the holidays is the goal, is to get it done this year.
Right. I'm just trying
So
to
anyway,
figure
it's-
out sort
yeah,
of.
it's
have
early
they set-
November.
Have they set a date for that, then?
So they said. So there's
Or a tentative date,
there's a
right?
tentative date on October 8th, and there may be some other meetings ahead of that 65-day period. But again, we'll know more
I mean,
next
November
month.
8th,
Yeah,
maybe November 8th, if you're looking.
yeah.
That would be just 65. Yeah, or October 8th is their public hearing, right.
Well, that's not the public hearing. October 8th is a meeting with the boards and commissions to make sure that all the boards and commissions want to do what they say they're going to do
Right.
in the plan. Then there's a public hearing, which all the boards and commissions are also invited to, as well as everybody else in town, to give their input on what's being proposed.
Okay.
So, and again, we've seen the state statutes, things that should be included in the plan, things that should be emphasized, like housing for people in town. It's all often talked about, but it should be actually implemented and encouraged through regulations, and things like multifamily housing are mentioned as something we should allow in town. One of my concerns is trying to increase the amount of rental housing for seniors and young people. There's hardly any in town, and there needs to be some new construction or conversion or something, because it's just not here, and we lag behind the state and county averages for rental housing availability. So again, those are some of the things that we can talk about. Anything else on that? Okay, sorry to jam up your calendars, but things are happening. Okay, so do we vote on that? Good for us. Good. All right, item 4 is railroad spraying. interesting week in railroad spraying. We did send out a letter. Did you get our letter that we sent out to our representatives? I've talked to our representatives. I've talked to Craig Miner's office. Sent it to the DOT and to the railroad, and soon we will send it to our tree warden. So did you get my?
I don't think I got that.
No,
Last
Okay.
Thursday?
no, we got the copy, it was in the newspaper that you gave us, the pictures. And then you sent us what the Housatonic Railroad had
Correct.
sent back.
Which
And
was
then
A
fairly,
long time ago.
which was fairly boilerplate.
And then,
And then this was your cover letter, which was dated January 30th, 2018. That's
Right.
all I have.
But we have no
that was
cor-
one attachment. The other attachment was the letter that was sent.
That's all I've got on this.
So anyway, so we
So
sent,
you sent the letter out.
and we'll
Well, if you-
confirm all that, and
maybe
everybody
you
knows
could
that.
Try
So
that again.
the upshot
Send-
is, well, one development that happened since our last meeting was a picture in the Waterbury paper of dead trees in North Canaan, and saying there had been a number of complaints raised at the selectmen's meeting in North Canaan, and so obviously this is not just a Cornwall issue,
right.
but it's happened in other places. And I did hear people from Cornwall Bridge of trees that, not just brush, but trees that were defoliated along the tracks that had never been sprayed before. So I did contact Maria Horn, our representative, and she did, I think, travel a good section of the rail line this past weekend, and I discussed with her and Senator Miner's office the need to get together with the municipal leaders as well as the Department of Transportation, who owns the rail corridor, and the railroad to talk about the spraying and what was sprayed and what the policy is. The other thing I did see that I'm not sure we got a vegetative management plan for this year. The last one we got was, I believe, January 19,
2000.
2018.
The ultimate question is, how does their vegetative management plan fit into the reality of what they're doing?
Correct,
I mean, that is the question.
right.
I mean, they can have a vegetative management plan, which they have, and they do need to keep the brush away from the train. They have a legitimate concern about that. But how does that plan relate to what they're actually doing and what we're seeing?
Right.
Because there's visual evidence.
And the equally pressing issue is, what about the trees that they've already killed? And that's an immediate big
Right.
thing that somebody's got to take accountability to take down these trees that are going to fall in the river, on the tracks, or on the roads. And there's lots of them. I mean, it's a major tree cutting thing that should happen this fall. So who's going to step up and who's going to wiggle? It's, to me, very important that we get, so I'm going to ask Craig and Maria to use their influence to get the people to the table, and we'll walk and we'll talk and try to get a plan before we even sit down. What's their response to these dead trees? That's the immediate thing.
And ultimately, having Marie and Chris Minor being involved is critical,
Absolutely.
because they're,
And they both sit on the environment committee, and here this is going on. I mean, that's another whole thing that's going on right on the banks of the Housatonic. And but they've created hazards in our towns by killing these trees,
Right.
and that's not acceptable. We can argue brush killing all we want, but killing trees that will then fall, it's not acceptable. So anyway,
acorns.
acorns. So anyway, stay tuned, and that'll probably be a daytime meeting, and I'm going to ask the area first selectmen who probably have the same thing in their towns up and down the track.
Does Kent had any?
I have not heard anything from Kent.
Certainly there's stretches that one would think there would be stretches along the tracks that would have trees,
Right.
an abundance of trees but maybe not in the same way.
Maybe it's more open down there. So anyway, stay tuned. on that. Fuel oil bids, we got a couple different bids. One from the Goshen Oil, who supplied the firehouses with oil last year, and the second from Quinn, yeah, Quinnico. So there's the one for that.
Do you remember what we paid last year?
I do not. Roughly the same amount.
No, no, it should be.
227?
Just curious.
$255.
Currently paying 255?
Yeah.
Join the fuel co-op.
Well, we do. We are. Yeah.
Isn't that what this is?
Yeah, Quinnico is now Quinnico got the winning bid for the fuel co-op. So you got that.
It's 229.
229.
What's it say here now? The floating price.
255 is what
If
it's
they
called, but then they
cap-
have that little,
The cost will be today's wholesale price will be 229.
which went up.
It just went up.
Price of oil went up because of events
Yes.
in Arabia.
But are we still locked into this or not?
I don't know. I think so. I think they quoted a price as of whatever date they need to.
Fixed price C.
And 229 is the same price that Wolkowitz said Quinnico would offer to the group in
Right.
Cornwall that buys as a group, individuals.
We're looking at the fixed price, weren't we? I mean,
Right.
we're
Yeah,
not-
that's what we had before. Or no, we had
a fixed price with a cap. No, we had a
Right.
floating price with a cap. I think we want the fixed price.
right. 229 sounds pretty hard to beat.
I would think if oil's below that, we're in a pretty good recession.
Yeah, everything's good. So we do that, and again, the fire department wanted to use Goshen, the firehouses, and that's 246, which is still less than we paid last year.
But
So-
Goshen now is with, is now with
Klibby,
Klebby.
yep.
Are they still tied to that?
Yes. Yeah, I think Kleb bought them out. So,
What is the, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but that's assurance. What is the assurance that 40 new, 60 new clients go with a new supplier, that this new supplier will be able to take on however number we're talking about?
oh, I think they do. I think they lose and gain people all the time. I think it's a fairly small for, I mean, these are bigger organizations in the fuel oil business now. They're able to absorb that, and they can buy as much as they want.
You don't perceive it as a problem?
No. But I would like to go keep with, because I know the people in Goshen are still doing stuff, and because the firehouses are slightly different in that we had a problem with the previous supplier running out and not paying attention to the fact this is our emergency hub. So they paid close attention up in Goshen. So we're, I would move that we stay with Goshen in their fixed price and then go with the co-op for the other 4 buildings.
Is that
in town.
a motion?
That's the motion.
For fixed price.
Right.
So that would be the fixed price $229 and the fixed price at $246.
Right.
Okay. I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
I mean, the only upside about cheap oil prices, it typically means it's a recession.
Okay. Depends who you talk to. All right, so, highway work, things are proceeding in several parts of town. The highway department's going to be resurfacing College Street. They're going to start grinding it up, reclaiming it, so-called, is what they do. And they're going to raise it up a little bit once they grind up the asphalt. And that work will start next Monday, the 20th? No, it's next Friday. It's this Friday, the 20th of September. So they're going to start, first they grind it up, then we're bringing in gravel, compacting the gravel on the surface, bring it up a little bit, and then they'll pave it the following week. So that will be a lot of activity in on College Street. There will be detours if necessary, but it won't be closed overnight.
So 2 days to grind,
Yeah.
2
probably.
days to
Yeah.
bring in gravel?
Yeah.
Is the town bringing the gravel in? Or
The
is
town's bringing it in, because it's actually not all that much.
it material?
Yeah. And then I think they have a roller that they'll roll, compact the gravel base.
Like the gravel? Pave it all in 1 day?
Yeah. Then the next thing to be closed is Lake Road. The work, you see the construction schedule, Green Hill starting, I believe, what is that date? Yeah, that was, I think they're starting Green Hill next week, culvert.
They're doing the culvert and then they do the other one.
And then they're doing, they plan to close Lake Road on the 21st of October.
Oh, that late?
Yeah. Oh, so. Green Hill, they're gonna start on the 30th of September. Yes.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, and they will be finished. Last thing to do is put up the guardrails. That's going to happen, supposed to happen on the 11th of October. And they're going to pave it probably when they pave Lake Road. Lake Road starts doing the preparation work, pre-construction work on the week of the October 14th. Close the road on October 21st. And then hopefully have it all buttoned up the first week in November, ahead of Election Day. So anyway, these 3 weeks of traffic disruption. on Lake Road, but there is easy detours for both projects. And hopefully the weather will cooperate. Civil War Monument, we're working on that to try to get that installed this year. Spencer Markow was working with his uncle to work on the plaque. They've got it in good shape, haven't quite finished it yet. John Laporte has found a stone that will nicely accommodate the plaque. Have to move it to the Sedgwick Monument area. It may cost a little money to move this stone that apparently weighs about 5,000 pounds.
Wow.
And it's out a little obscure place. So anyway, we're set with that.
Do you have a
Those
date?
two pieces, and we're looking to do that on Veterans Day,
November 11th.
November 11th. So that's our target. That gives us, now that we got, that still gives us time to make that work. And I am going to try to talk to some of the reenactor units or something to get a color guard there for the ceremonies.
And that's on a Monday. November 11th is.
Yeah. So in theory, our bridge will be, in that area, will be finished a week ahead of that. But you can still get to the Sedgwick Monument regardless of what happens on Lake Road.
What is ACM for?
That's the
Concrete that's
fancy,
there,
that's the fancy name for the pipe that's there now. It's actually a metal pipe.
corrugated, metal
Yeah.
pipe.
Aluminum corrugated metal pipe.
Concrete pipe,
Yeah. Reinforced concrete pipe.
reinforced concrete.
So we will keep you informed how we're doing honoring our Civil War veterans. Mohawk 5-year plan, we get that to look at. Nice to see all the activity. Hard to think about snow, but it usually comes. Thought it was interesting the work they're doing. As the seasons change, the weather changes. They're trying to be adaptable to it. Yeah. You can see that this is going well. I thought, what I felt, which I don't have my copy, but the thing I took away from that, which I thought was interesting, was the need for better cell service. That's definitely, they feel that's impacting their business there, and they may do a micro antenna there or something to improve it. But that's probably where a significant amount of their business is coming to them with cell phones, and if there's dark spots, not so good. So anyway, just another
It's
indication of
unfortunate
where
that
things are
they're-
going.
That they're in the shadow
Of the mountain.
of the Mohawk Tower. I mean, the
Yeah,
tower's right
yeah.
there, but they're in the shadow of the
Mm.
tower.
Well, that's a complaint I hear constantly with my buyers coming up from the city.
They get
go
lost.
bonkers. They go absolutely bonkers.
They feel vulnerable when you can't. You
Most
lose
of
that
them no
signal.
longer have landlines.
Right.
They live with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, well, when you buy a house and you put your TV up, you can get in-house service. Yes, but if I get in the car, Priscilla, sorry, if you get in the car, it's going to be very spotty, and that's the kindest thing I can say about it.
That's good. So, technology.
I wish Cornwall would do something more aggressively
Yeah.
to improve our cell phone service, and that's not the first time you've heard me say that.
I think for them that you have people that want to be able to communicate with each other on the mountain, or just know where each other,
Within the lodge even, and from one lodge to the other, yeah.
right, where are you now?
Yeah,
Or just,
Yeah.
sort of, I'm lost, where are you? I mean,
yes.
all those different scenarios of trying to
Mhm.
keep track of people.
No, I was
Or
very
time to
impressed
pick
by
me
this
up,
Mohawk.
if there's some of that.
Yeah.
But it's not a simple thing for them to put up, even putting up with their own micro tower is not
No, it
a,
isn't.
Right, cooked up to where?
hooked up to where, right? It's,
Right. Good. So, anyway, I'll write him back and thank them for giving us the plan. Okay. Next, Highway Department retirement. Bud Herbert is retiring from the fire department. From the highway department. And so his last day of work will be this Friday. We would thank him for his years of service to the town and plowing snow and working with the department, and wish him well. Jim is working on a job description and talking to other highway departments on what they've been doing and things, so he'll be coming to us with some suggestions in the near future. Most of our big projects are underway right now, so, and a lot of those are being done by contractors or whatever, so there's no immediate need to fill the position quickly, and he wants to take time to make sure we get a good pool of candidates, and we're even set up for this winter for snow plowing because Bud was hurt or had an operation last winter, so we do have the people that filled in for last winter, did a lot of the plowing, ready to go again this season. So we have
So
time.
covered.
We're covered that way, and it is a slower time of year for the highway stuff, but certainly we want to get somebody in place.
How many
by the
people
spring.
do we have in our highway department?
Right now, we have the foreman, Jim, and we have 3 full-time other workers, and we have 2 people that work part-time. So so during a storm, we usually have 5 trucks out. Depending on the size of the storm, if it's not that big, we can cover it with 4.
but we should aim to have someone in place December 1st.
I'm going to talk to Jim and see what he feels the right approach is, or whatever, for things. And as we are covered for a while, we'll
No time frame on it then.
there may not be a time frame. So again, we're trying to get all this stuff buttoned up in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll have a chance to look at it. He did get some good interview questions from other highway departments, and those are things to look at as far as what they're looking for, what we could be looking for. So anyway, he feels everything's in good shape.
How long has Buddy been working?
That's a good question. I'm not.
8 years? 10?
It all seems like everybody works. It's all longer than you think it has been, but I would say it's probably 10.
Looking up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a while.
yeah.
Well, he worked temporarily or part-time, or was filling in when Steve was not able to work.
Right. But that, yeah, so that probably, it's probably 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Time flies. Okay, so next, tax incentive ordinance. I did read in the paper, and I did talk to Joe Pryor, head of the Board of Finance, about this idea. I did see other towns, notably Barkhamsted and Falls Village, have adopted an ordinance.
Is this their actual ordinance?
That's what the first selectman of Falls Village sent me,
Okay.
which is somewhat different than probably what we would do, but it gives you an idea. And Joyce, can you issue another copy of it? Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thought this left some areas
Yeah,
that
no,
could
I-
have been, a little more precise.
Right.
There were some things I didn't understand, just all over the place.
Yeah, well, first thing is that they have historic district.
Improvements are for retail or business Does that mean commercial? What does business mean? What does mixed use mean? Is that residential?
I think mixed use is generally you can have apartments or housing and commercial activities in the same place.
Right.
So so basically the purpose of this policy, which I think is timely for us to think about, is to attract new businesses to the downtown area, to rehabilitate buildings that are now underutilized or vacant, to build employment within the town to enhance the tax base. So, and the areas that covered are for them in their historic district in the town of Falls Village. So I would think what we would do, or at least we would consider doing, is we have 2 general business zones in town, and they would certainly be covered. The question that, so the idea is if there are vacant buildings or underutilized buildings and somebody buys them and fixes them up, should we have the ability to abate the taxes some way as a gesture that this is something the town wants to see happen? So, again, I think there is a consensus that people want to see our so-called downtown area, general business areas improve, increase. There's definitely a challenge in having a business today, especially retail business. And there is interest in our downtown areas of new businesses. There's transitions going on. So I think the idea of re-energizing empty, underutilized businesses is a good thing. This is not a permanent. This is not a permanent tax break. I think 3 years.
So a couple of the other questions I have.
So again,
here,
a lot of this stuff is what does the state statute
This-
say we can do?
This paragraph right here also then seems to throw it into the whole town.
Right.
Extend to any business in the town.
Yep.
And if the abatement is for 3 years, the policy expires in 3 years. I'm not quite sure how that works together.
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. One of the things we ought to ask, I'm not sure, Barbara or Jean, the impact if there were 5 projects of $250,000, $400,000, choose a number, some kind of project. What would that actually mean in tax dollars abated?
In terms of income to the town, you were talking about.
Correct. But it would also be ultimately additional income to the town, because the town, if somebody does an improvement, if they don't do the
Then it's
improvement.
gonna go up.
Right, if they don't do the improvement, it's not like we're losing money, we're just losing the potential money for a few years. So, but we should have a idea as to what we're talking about. Are we talking $500, $5,000, or $50,000? So we can make a educated decision about it. I don't think that's, just so you know how much you're talking about in terms of money.
So going down by their points by point. So, and again, this is not going to be on the agenda for October, but this would have to be approved by a town meeting sometime. And again, because we do not have an historic district, so there's nothing to be outside of or inside of. So is your thought, should this be just for the, should this just be for the business areas, or should this be for some businesses that are outside the general business zone, such as, say, the Four Corners up here? Somebody takes that on and fixes it up. Should that, because there are businesses out, and there are places that can have businesses outside.
The ski area.
Ski area. But again, that's an interesting thing, because there's no vacant. This isn't on all building improvements. This is on improvements to properties that are vacant or underutilized.
I wouldn't, see, that's,
I think-
I wouldn't necessarily word it that way. I think we want to encourage investment.
So that's the other question though, because I think this law lets us do this is for utilizing underutilized or vacant buildings is the gist of this, trying to get this going. So the question is, do the buildings have to be vacant or underutilized?
Well, vacant is one thing. Vacant you can define. There's nothing there.
Vacant's easy to define.
But underutilized, if you're going to spend $250,000 on the building,
Right.
or renovating it in some way, it's underutilized because you're going to spend $250,000 on it. So it's underutilized. I would contend that we don't want to just restrict it to vacant property. That's my belief.
Okay.
That you would want to encourage people to make investments. We're talking about, real money here. Now, that has to be defined too.
The other question, that's the next.
How do you define 100,000 or 200,000?
Well, and should you say that you have to spend $100,000 before you get the tax break? I mean, why can't you spend $25,000 and still get a tax break? I mean, for some people, that's a significant investment, and if we are talking about a fairly small business, there's some people that can revitalize a underutilized space for less than $100,000. So why not? Why should we put I'm not sure what the number is, but I don't see why you have to spend $100,000 in order to make it. If we're trying to do these goals of underutilized space, increasing vitality, you can do that for less than $100,000 depending on the condition of the building.
Okay.
So I would say we should consider dropping that. Unless there's again, I'm not sure what most of these things, in order to do this, we'll have to get some Connecticut general statute guideline, because generally we can only abate taxes under the state law.
Right.
And this doesn't reference what the law is. So we should, and they may say you have to have this, or you may do that.
Sure.
But anyway, assuming that we have the authority to do that.
I would encourage that it be open to any area in town,
Yeah.
not restrict it just to Cornwall Bridge and West Cornwall, which we think of as our business areas. But as you said earlier, if it were the Four Corners, or
Right.
it could be a building which is not being used now for anything, and all of a sudden it pops
Right.
up to be available for some kind of a mixed business use. So I would not restrict the area.
Okay, got it. What do you think about the minimum investment?
We have to create some level. I'm not sure what it was. It doesn't have to be 100,000, but it should be significant. It can't be $5,000 or $10,000.
Okay,
I'm not even sure you could do much for 25. I mean, I'm being realistic.
but I'm looking
You
at
sound like you're talking about updating, not really creating a new space, but just
Yeah.
improving the wiring or something. I mean, that's what you're going to get for 25,000. You're not going
But I'm
to get
thinking
structure.
it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to take the new bike store.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did a bunch of work there, contracting work. It was
Yeah.
probably, I'm guessing it was less than $100,000. I haven't seen his permit charges. But he did take a space that needed to be upgraded and made it a very nice new space. But the question is, did that change the assessment of the building?
I doubt it.
You know what I mean? Because again, you could spend a lot of money and find your building isn't worth more. I mean, this is in theory abating the increased taxes, but you could spend a bunch of money and still not have your assessment go up on the building. Correct?
Yes, some of that would be maintenance. So we
Right.
have to be careful in terms of whether these are all thoughts we gotta come up with.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the answers are, I'm just throwing, you could spend a lot of money, if somebody spends $10,000 putting a new roof on.
That's one thing that building needs
But
that
I'm saying-
hasn't been addressed, but it won't affect the bike shop.
But if you put a new roof on, is that an investment that is worthy of, a tax abatement?
Interesting.
What's that?
Well, it doesn't say here that your taxes actually have to go up as a result of your $100,000 expenditure. You're abating the taxes, but it doesn't say you're abating, I originally thought
Or an increase in taxes?
what we were doing was saying, if you take a building that's empty and do a bunch of work on it, then we're gonna abate the taxes, the increase on what you just did.
The value.
But this seems to say that if you spend $100,000, we're gonna abate your taxes somehow, something, or whatever. So,
I think what we're finding out is we need to define this a little better.
Right,
Because there's
yeah.
a lot of,
because it says it's up to 50% reduction in property tax, so it's not a 50% reduction in the tax of the new work, it's a 50% reduction in the total tax,
right.
the way I read
right.
it.
So, yeah, this goes, you put a roof on for $10,000, and that doesn't buy you that much roof, but it'll buy you, a bunch. Is that just maintenance that everyone does or needs to do? And should you get a tax abatement because you put a new roof on?
Right,
But if you were to do a standing seam roof, which is replacing an old asphalt roof, that's actually a building improvement. So I don't know what the
Yeah,
assessor
yeah,
would
yeah,
do with
yeah.
that, but I would think that when
May-
they do assessments, that those are things that come into the planning, the materials that are used.
Sure, sure.
We probably should involve Jean when we get more serious on what we're going to do in detail here. She might have some ideas that would be helpful.
Special consideration will be given to distressed properties or those not currently on the tax rolls of the town.
I don't understand that. Everything's on the tax roll.
Yes.
It may be, you may not be collecting taxes for it, but everything's on the tax roll. It's-
Right, and it's sort of like, it says it can be given to the Board of Finance after approved by the Board of Selectmen, both boards have to approve it, but it would, like, if you did the work, you'd think it'd be automatic.
Now, if you've been in West Cornwall in the last couple of weeks, Ian bought the Lush building,
Right,
and he is doing a gut renovation. He's down to the studs. And I've been told that upstairs is going to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath residence. And downstairs is going to be a commercial space, but it hasn't been defined as to what kind of commercial space. But he's doing quite a bit of work. I mean, more than $25,000 for sure.
I think we need to find the statute and do a little homework.
Right.
Because this is a concept, what we see here in front of us,
Mhm.
which may have come from one of the area towns, is not specifically what the town of Cornwall would want to do.
Right.
It sort of leaves a bunch of questions. I think it asks more questions than it answers.
Right.
This does. But it's a good
But it's
direction.
a good idea
It's a
for
good
us
idea,
to-
yeah, and we
a
oughta-
direction to go in. A positive direction to go in for
Oh.
Cornwall.
or thought anyway, for sure.
Mhm.
And I think we've brought up a number of points that need to be defined.
Right.
You know, one of them is, who's verifying all of this? The building official, the assessor?
Right.
You know, who says that it's completed? When is it completed?
Right.
Just like you said,
Well, I think Paul.
is it just the general business, the GB area? Is it the whole town?
Right.
You know, these are all the questions that we have to
Yep,
define.
but this is very, very significant, I think, and something we should be doing.
Good. Well, anyway. So we'll keep it as an agenda item. I think what we'll do is maybe talk about it again next, I'll take a look and see if I can find out what the statutes are that apply to it, and then obviously we have to send it over to Pearlie to get his views on it before it becomes an ordinance.
Correct.
Right, because this is, procedurally, and I'll ask people I know in Barcampston, they were trying to attract people into a shopping center on Route 44 where there was some vacancy. So they had specific areas that they were trying to do stuff. So the question is, did it actually work?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think that's what was going on. Okay, all right. So that's that. And again, the start date. When would this? It wouldn't. I don't think this would count for construction that's already going on. It would have to be. When would this start and become applicable? I think.
yes. You'd have to apply for
You
it.
had to apply for it before you got your CO, before you started?
Yeah.
Or when would you have to apply?
Well, I think the ordinance would have to be in place for
Right.
one.
You think? Right.
I don't think you can, yeah.
You can't get this before the town says it's a good idea. And there could be pushback. All right, so next addition to the agenda was invasive plants. There's been quite a bit of talk about invasive plants in the last year or so. There is quite a bit of knotweed that has been identified in the town gravel bank, and the concern on parts of some people is that if you have the seeds in your gravel and you start spreading your gravel over town, you're spreading the seeds. This
That's
apparently
a-
is in other towns too, gravel bank. I'm not sure this has actually happened, and I haven't seen, most of the knotweed that I know of is on paved roads, not dirt roads. But again, it would make sense, and all these things, it can spread very rapidly. And as that is town property and it's far away from people's houses, I think probably getting that plant under control there is sort of a test case makes sense. I've also talked to Deb Bennett, who's on the Conservation Commission, and whose husband is the assistant tree warden, about talking to people if there are places in town adjacent to town roads that the abutting property owners agree, then we would have somebody come up and spray the plants to control this particular pest before it takes off. But it would have to be agreed to by the people who live there.
We've had a map, we did get a map identifying all the
Some
known,
spot, do we?
all the known Japanese knotweed
Yeah.
throughout the town. I think it was from Art.
Yeah, Art has put that out, yeah.
Along some of the roads and maybe along the river.
Right.
Seemed to be more, there was a bunch in North Cornwall, some on Route 4. And if you really want to see it, take Route 4 to Hartford.
Yeah.
There are stretches a half a mile long, 40 feet deep off the road. I mean, it's impressive,
Half a mile
at least.
on Route 4.
Yeah.
Huh. So I know the state did spray some roadsides.
Well,
Yeah.
they didn't spray Route 4,
In what
Past-
towns?
Harwington, Burlington,
All through there. Yeah.
all the way to the high school there.
Okay, so anyway, so Mr. Gambino, long time teacher at the high school now has a company, tree and pond services, and he's licensed to do all sorts of spraying. So for approximately $1,000, he would apply glyphosate according to DEP regulations and label restrictions to selected areas of knotweed in the town gravel pit.
Is the technique for doing that spraying it now? Is now the time to spray it?
According to Deb Bennett, now's the time to spray. Now I've heard May, I've heard now.
Because now everything's going down to the roots?
Right. And you may have to spray it a couple times.
Yeah, that's not out of the question.
Well, if it were sprayed now, by next May, you'd know how effective it had been. If
Pretty
it needed
much.
to be redone, do it next May again.
Call
I
them-
mean-
yeah.
This is serious stuff, and I think it should be
What,
sprayed and gotten rid of.
how big an area
And
is
if
he
it means
talking
doing
about?
it twice, you do it twice.
What do you need a pot sprayer? Is there, what was the discussion about being done on some of the other locations on town roads?
Cut and squirt.
Have we been
Sprayed
doing
right
it?
down.
Has somebody been
No,
doing it?
people have been doing it individually, but there hasn't been any town sponsored program.
And what you cut, can that reseed itself? That's the problem, isn't it?
No, the problem is the roots, I believe.
The roots or rhizomes that,
Yeah, that you have to go attack the roots. Cutting it by itself usually doesn't work.
I thought one of the problems with this was that the cutter
Would drive
Actu-
it down the road.
was
and-
spreads it
Or
down the road.
Some of the seeds,
I don't think it was the seeds, I think it was actually the stems.
little stems.
would
But I'm
root-
not-
Yeah, that's what they said, they could root out and.
I'm not
start
They
sure.
could, I'm not sure that happens much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the spots we've had for a long time, they seem to go into the woods. Like they don't seem to like spread 50 feet down the road every year. They just seem to show up and go, or not go. But anyway, it does make sense to try to learn how the best way to deal with this is, and I think Bob is as good a person to deal with it environmentally as possible.
Where would we, is this out of the highway fund?
Yeah, out of contracted services. So I'd make a motion, we go for that, see how it works.
I second that.
Okay, and any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So, I think that's pretty much it, other than public comments. Public comments, anybody still awake? Richard? Okay. The press. All crystal clear. Good. Okay, so next is our bill payment.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
all the excitement.
Excitement.
Spraying here, spraying there.